one more bottle here.
Audelssa.
Audelssa. Eric is the winemaker for Audelssa. Audelssa has, they have a winery, they have a facility, a winery facility and vineyards all hillside on the Mayacamas mountain range up there.
Up near Carmenate or?
Up the road from Petroni.
Yeah, so up in that movie.
Carmenate, same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And so all hill fruit. They have so many different soils. They actually have different batches up there, different lots. I guess they, cool. Because we even saw it when we were up there. Really cool place to go to, by the way. You should definitely go. The town of Glen Ellen has their tasting room, but you can always make a special trip to go up to the winery. I highly recommend it. A beautiful day, views of San Francisco. And again, we just tried the Sojourn Pinot. Eric is the winemaker here. But a totally different style. This is Cabernet Sauvignon.
Of course. Yeah.
And so we're going both ends of the spectrum here on the red wines. Light Pinot and then the big heavy Cab
but
up on the mountain.
It's balanced and pretty. It's not a big fat man dancing. This is a very well-structured, well-put-together wine. You got it. Boy, so chocolatey in the nose.
Chocolatey,
really
okay.
Nice. Cedar, chocolate. Nice cassis, but some really sweet cherries, almost dried cherries.
I need to have cassis. Everybody talks about cassis.
It's the currant liqueur, so you use it to make kir. You should have some at the restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
So you mix it with white wine. You mix creme de cassis with white wine, and it makes kir. K-I-R. It's really tasty. Or you can mix it with champagne, and it makes kir royale.
Oh, right.
Really tasty.
But now, cassis is not a fruit.
Cassis is made from red currant.
From currant. Okay, so cassis is the product of the currant fruit.
Yeah, and currants are, to me, they have a berryness about them, but they also have an herbalness about them. There's a kind of a wild, I wouldn't say gamey, it's just sort of a veggie. It's sort of almost a cross between a veggie and a fruit, but in the way that they smell. Okay. And so it's a way for me to be able to say it has a little bit of a leafy herb character, but at the same time has a lot of berry character.
Now, I've heard that in a lot of Cabernets, sort of the herbal or herb qualities in there, maybe even some mints at times.
Yeah.
But so here we are with the cassis. That's what you're looking for when you're going for that.
Yeah.
Okay, for the Cab. So.
Yeah, I look for it not to be bell pepper, and I don't get bell pepper in this. There are people that have so much bell pepper that it almost turns into a jalapeno pepper, and that's like disgusting.
Off-putting, yeah, for a wine.
I mean, if you're eating a bunch of jalapenos, I guess it goes, but I can't put that garbage in my mouth.
I do love jalapenos. Give this a little bit of, so we have a great year, again, just like the Manga Zin that we had, the 07, which was just a beautiful year for of production for grape, for any kind of agriculture in California. It's the Cabernet Sauvignon Sonoma Valley. So, what do you think, Carol?
I think this is great. Boy, stack this up against a nice prime rib, that'd be real tasty. Beef stew, something along that line.
Now we have those tannins. I have tannins now a little bit more on the back sides of my palate.
Yeah, they're chewier tannins.
Chewier.
Sometimes, to me, if they're just drying and they just leave your mouth dry, that's sort of boring. I'd like to have something a little bit more activity. If there's not enough tannin, it just kind of slips on down your throat and it's forgettable. This gives it a little friction.
Okay,
a little traction going down.
I heard Eric say this one time, back grip. Remember that,
Eric?
Yeah,
back grip,
that. Back grip.
That's good.
It's gripping there and holding that flavor. A long finish.
Yeah.
I still have that finish in my mouth, and it's been a good 30, 40 seconds. What do you have on the palate for flavors?
I get that same cassis, maybe a little Italian seasoning, a little green herb, but and then that cherry coming up a little bit too.
The black cherry, right?
Yeah, almost like a cherry pipe tobacco.
Okay.
You know how there's pipe tobaccos that are flavored with cherry?
This cold winter, it sounds great. I'd love to have a pipe right now, just to be smoking on a pipe and a little bit of this Cabernet.
I wish I smoked.
That's why you have such a good palate. I do have a little bit of I smoke some tobacco here and there, I must admit.
Oh yeah. That and the jalapenos, they'll dull you.
Yeah, that will kill it a little bit.
Nope.
Wow, this is really pretty. Do you see similarities in his winemaking styles?
I do.
Are you that?
Yeah, because of his cleanliness, he has no microbial things going on here. He shows a real respect for the vineyard, for the fruit character of the vineyard, and he brings up some really delicate, more spice. He doesn't let oak overwhelm it, and yet it's framing it nicely. He's got a nice little bit of oak in here that isn't a coffin. Excellent. I think of oak can be so strong that it seals the fruit in and you don't get any fruit out.
No oak coffin here. This is just oak love. A little hint of oak to frame it. I like that, how you said that. So a little bit of oak is good. What does oak do, actually, to wine? Maybe people here we are. We have some oak barrels right here. Why do we put it in oak barrels?
Mostly you're putting it in for flavor because a newer oak barrel is like a new tea bag. You're going to extract about 50% of the flavor in the first year. The next year you'll lose another 50%, so you're down to like 3/4 of the flavor. So by the time you filled it the third year, you've got 1/4 of the original oak flavor, and by the fourth year it's pretty neutral. So in the very first part of its life, a barrel contributes a lot of flavor, but in addition it softens the wine a lot. By putting it in an oak barrel, you get quite a bit. Oh. Can you hang off a minute? I'm doing an interview on this video. Thanks.
Hey, business goes on. What are we going to do?
An insurance inspection or something. They told us they were coming, but I didn't know what time. Where was I? Oh, so the barrels. When you put it in a barrel, there's micro-oxygenation that happens. Little bits of evaporation, mostly around the bunghole, but also through the wood pores itself and around the head.
Because it's porous, it's wood, it's natural,
Exactly.
It's not a solid plastic or steel or glass.
So it breathes. The
Okay.
wine is allowed to breathe, and the tannins get softer and more complexed, and they're called longer chains. They polymerize, and then they're softer in your mouth.
Okay.
If you have just the very first tannins that come out as right at the end of fermentation, they're grippy and they're hard, and this is softened by the oak. The oak contributes some tannin, and if it's French oak, it gives more backbone, more firm structural tannins, and American oak gives a little more flavor immediately, fresh off the top, than French oak does, but it's fatter and rounder and a little bit sweeter in its character.
And I've heard the American oak typically will impart things like vanillas and what other things from American oak?
Actually, both of them have vanilla because vanillin, the actual thing that makes vanilla smell like vanillin, or like smell like vanilla, is the chemical vanillin, and it's in oak, but it comes from toasting the barrel.
Okay.
So it depends on the toast level of the barrel. And then in addition, American oak can have more chocolatey character. And just like in France, there's Limousin, Nevers, Allier, Juppy, all these different forests. In America, we've got Minnesota, the Ozarks, and Pennsylvania, Missouri. All these different areas have different flavor profiles.
Wow.
So the Ozark oak from Missouri and the Arkansas area is more buttery, softer, rounder, sweeter, more milk chocolate caramel. And it goes better with manga, for instance.
That sounds good.
Because it's got more brown sugariness to it.
Okay.
And then the Appalachian oak is more dense, tighter grained, and in the oak itself and the pieces of wood. And because of that, it's more densely spicy and more dark chocolate.
Wow, not only an artist you are, but a scientist.
Oh, you got to know all this stuff.
You
It's
do.
amazing.
And
There's
you
so
know so
many
much.
levels that winemaking happens on. So
Very
you gotta
cool.
pick your barrels when you buy. I mean, spending a lot of money for them, you might as well get which is a good thing for your wine. So.
Let's end on that note. Barrels. So barrels. And you know what? There's so much expense that goes into making a bottle of wine. I don't want to hear anybody complaining about the price of wine out there because there's so much cost.
Yeah.
Really, the fruit right onto the glass, the label, the barrels. How much do the barrels cost, Carol, on average?
French oak barrels have actually come down this year from $1,400 down to about $900 to $1,000 a barrel. And they only hold 60 gallons, which is about 25 cases.
So right there you have an average of $1,000 contributing to year one, year two, year three. You kind of like stage them down the line, right, as far as where you're going to use them in the process.
Right.
$1,000 contributed to 25 cases of wine.
Yep.
That's another cost you got to consider there.
Fortunately, American oak is only a third of that cost. It's about $350 to $400.
But again, used for different purposes.
Yep.
You pick your oaks just like you pick your fruit for different end results, different products.
And also your price point, because you can't afford to put all new French oak in something that your people are only paying $10 for.
Sure.
Unless the new French oak is in little pieces.
And then you drop it in the big vat.
Then
or
you
whatever.
put chips in a tea bag.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, pony up some real money, buy some real wine, and you'll be nothing but happy. These guys, you winemakers, Carol, Eric Bradley, put a lot of love, a lot of heart, a lot of soul into it. This is wine at its best. Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers. I still have something left.